One way to jumpstart a hydroponic system is to buy nursery plants in soil and then remove the soil and put them in net pots. And today I have these two big boy tomatoes that I got at Flowerland in San Francisco, certified organic. So in doing something like this, the first thing you want to do is take the plant out and shake off as much topsoil as you can, or potting soil. You'll see that it's root bound. There's roots growing out to the edge. Some of those are just going to have to be sacrificed. So I'm going to take off as much of this as I can easily. Tomatoes have fibrous roots as opposed to other plants that have a central taproot. So this is as much as I can do easily, I think. So then I've got this bucket of water, and I'm just going to put it in here and shake off as much of the potting soil as I can. It'll stick in there. Okay. That's going to have to be good enough. So at this point I've got this root down about this far. Now as far as something to put them in, I want these roots to hang down into the nutrient solution. So what I've done here is I've taken this 2-inch net pot and cut out the central webbing here very simply by using, this is a poultry shear, and there's a net pot that hasn't been modified. So you just go in and snip. And there you have it. Enough space for the roots. And then for a support medium, okay? For support medium, I have this old bag of green moss, which was fairly expensive to buy, and I'm not going to throw this away. So what I'm going to do is very carefully drape these roots down into the basket. Some of the roots are above the level of the basket, which is going to be fine because you want this thing to be able to breathe air as well as getting nutrient solution. These are going to eventually go into a 5-gallon bucket once they're established. So I'm just going to take some of this green moss and stuff it in here as a support. I've found from growing these, my first set of these, I've found from growing my first set of these that they will tend to grow the air-breathing roots out into this medium. And of course in the Kratky system there will be an air gap below the level of the pot. This may need a stick to support it or something right now. I'll have to figure that out. Okay, so there you have it in the net pot. And then I've cut these 4-inch square pieces out of a 1/4-inch plywood or whatever this is. This will go into this square, and the square will go into a quart jar. Okay, so now that the cleaned tomato plant is in the 2-inch net cup, it's been set in this little board, and it's been set into a quart jar. I'll have to figure out about holding it up. I was taping sticks to it before. Guess I'll have to do that again. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just take some tape. Got this drafting tape here. I guess I'll do this outside like this. Probably won't need this for very long, but I do want to have it on there. Okay, so I've got a stick on there, and I've got this little board thingy. I've got this 4-inch zip tie. Let's see, maybe I should fill it first. We'll find out. Okay, so that will sort of support it. Okay, maybe it should have been higher. So I'm going to take a piece of tape here, I guess. And we'll just see if we can wrap this on there like that. Okay. Good enough. Tomatoes, of course, are vining. They will grow. So basically, just pouring hydroponic solution. This has an EC of about 1.3. So I'm just going to fill this up until it's about ½ an inch below the net cup. And there I have my completed setup. So this should thrive, and once it gets a little bit established, I'll transfer this to a 5-gallon bucket. I've previously showed a 5-gallon bucket inside a tomato cage with 2 Siberian plants. Those are doing well. They're growing. It's getting warmer in San Francisco, so they're doing okay. So this is a complete setup for a tomato plant being converted. When you do this, I recommend that you save the potting soil for other uses. For instance, here's an example. I previously tried growing a clove of garlic by setting it on top of an oasis cube, and it started to root very quickly, but it just didn't hold itself up. So this is my new idea on how to do garlic. I've got a little piece of burlap cut into the bottom here, and I put a little bit of soil around it, and we'll see. I hope that, we'll see it, but I think this is going to grow a lot better than what I did before. I'm using this for other things too, like cilantro and chives, which I've had trouble just starting without soil, and I'm using it to start some green peas and snap beans, so we'll see how those do. The last part of this is that I'm going to leave it in subdued light for a day or two so that it has a chance to recover from transplantation shock. Here's a quick note, which is this is a tray of mung bean shoots, which is 15 days old, and I'm getting tremendous growth out of these. And this was from a ½ a cup of mung beans soaked overnight in my hydroponic solution, which is the way I'm starting everything these days. The soaked things are soaked in hydroponic solution, and when I do the Oasis cups, those are watered at first with the hydroponic solution. Based on my experience with the mung beans, at a ½ a cup, I've gone to this tray and just put a ¼ a cup in here, and just looking at this, this will be plenty because they turn into a pretty impressive sized plant in about 2 weeks. And that's something I recommend looking for in your microgreens. I really decided that some of the real microgreens, the tiny ones, were just too much trouble, and I stopped doing it. But then I found these speckled peas, a true leaf, that produce a nice long shoot in about 2 weeks, and these mung beans do in about 2 weeks, and the sunflowers also about 2 weeks. So those are 3 crops that I highly recommend as being really productive. Got this 6-pack of kale, and what I'm finding when I pull it out is that it has a pretty solid root ball here. one might call this root bound. So the solution for this really is I'm just trimming this down a little bit so I can fit it into the 2-inch net pot. Just going to jam it into this net pot like this. Okay. And now it's ready to go outside. People might tend to worry about getting soil-borne diseases into your hydroponic system, but I would say that it's no more likely than having diseases come in through the air, basically, that if you have well-nourished plants and so on, they have resistance to disease, particularly if they have enough of the trace minerals that help them fight viruses. So I'm just going to leave this as is.